everyone. Welcome to what is a bit of a slightly different video on the channel. We've kind of set up a podcast, as you can see here. We're not actually starting one. Don't worry about that. I'm not throwing my hat into the podcast ring.
Not yet.
But I'm here joined by Gino Sanchez, who is one of the product specialists down in our shop in Brighton. Say hello.
Hello. Hi.
So today we're looking at this device that you can see in front of us here, and that is the Vocaster 2 from Focusrite. Now, this is basically, it's a device that's specifically catered to recording things like podcasts and streams. It's like an all-in-one, all you would need interface to work with pretty much any laptop around.
Yeah, no, spot on.
So what we thought we'd do is put it into the kind of situation it's supposed to be in, which is this kind of podcast setting, and check it out and go through some of the features. I've got Gino here. We'll talk about some of the stuff Gino does in his own time, which is kind of relevant to the needs of a device such as this. And we'll go through it.
Yeah, let's go for it.
So I think firstly, it'd be good to know a little bit more about what you actually do in your own time.
In my free time, I'm a Twitch streamer and content creator. Yeah, a lot of things I do on Twitch kind of correspond with podcasting, live streaming, broadcasting from home. I do a bit of everything. Obviously, working at GAK means I've got access to music stuff. So every now and then I do music-related streams, whether it's me playing the guitar, doing some DJ streams, or even doing some music production, which is, it's quite nice. It's quite interactive, and you can get some immediate feedback when working on music. When I first started, I was pretty much using a USB microphone plugged into a laptop and going, I'm just going to talk and see what happens. And then as you can probably agree, video editing side of things, you kind of go, what was I thinking? Because you just go on for ages, and then when you're trying to condense it down, it's kind of difficult.
It is very difficult. As the person who edits all of these videos, I can attest to that.
But yeah, no, I mean, it kind of grew from there, gave me a lot of passion to do what I wanted. And over the years, I've now ended up with an SM7B at home, which is one of my favorite microphones of all time.
Yeah.
A slightly different bit of kit for my interface. This is actually very close to what that does in terms of the Vocaster Hub software. It's one thing I love about companies like Focusrite and doing and exploring products like this and areas like this. They are very much paying attention to what streamers and creators want and going, okay, how can we make their lives a lot easier? Because using this is for broadcasting and streaming gaming is much superior than using like a Focusrite 2i2. Like it's just much better.
It's a lot more tailored to that kind of thing. And I think there was a lot of companies before, like the main companies in pro audio, like Focusrite and the like. There's a lot of companies who had cottoned on to the fact that there was this entire industry of gamers and streamers and podcasters and stuff who needed equipment, and they were providing all of the functions and stuff they needed. But these companies, I don't want to name any names. I mean, we don't sell any of it, but we may do in the future. So I don't want to trash anyone right now. But a lot of these companies, they produce things with all the functions they needed, but it's not necessarily got the quality that you'd want.
There is such a gap in the market, and it's so young and fresh that, like you said, like there was some companies that caught on very early, and they're new, they're still young, they're not nowhere near the Goliaths like Focusrite and even Rode or Shure microphones. There's still some gaps that need to be filled, and these guys are now getting there, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, and what I think is great about that is you've got companies like Focusrite who are bringing in a wealth of experience when it comes to, analog to digital conversion and, producing kind of quality interfaces, which they've been doing and are famous for doing for 20, 30 years and more, probably. That's off the top of my head, but so it's good that these companies are getting into that field and providing the kind of features that are tailored to people like streamers and, of course, podcasters, which is the kind of the main, selling point of this interface, is that it's perfect for podcasters. And it's probably fair to say that the needs of someone doing a podcast in terms of audio are very similar to the needs of someone doing
100%. And like I've been in the world of streaming and broadcasting for nearly 5 years, and the amount of times that people have turned around to me and gone, hey, have you got advice on like what microphones to get, what equipment to get? Like, this is definitely making my life easier, not only working at the shop, but also just in an everyday sort of like peer-to-peer conversation. And one thing I wanted to highlight is when we were setting all of this up, I pressed the auto gain button on the software and we just spoke for 10 seconds and voila, like we've got a pretty good like audio setup in my opinion.
Exactly.
And obviously we've got some additional features that we'll be talking about. But the fact that you can just plug in, press that auto gain button, and then you just go.
It's one thing to point out, obviously you've been doing, the streaming game, the broadcasting game for like 5 years. You also work in a shop where, your job is to know about all of this stuff. So that does give you a bit of an advantage.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Whereas there are a lot of people out there who, want to get on streaming and they want to maybe set up a podcast with their friends. They've got an interesting topic or an interesting kind of niche that they want to hit with a podcast, but have never, touched the audio world. So it's probably quite a nice thing to maybe talk about what are some of the things, someone who works in the shop in Brighton, on the front line and speaking to customers that every day. I shouldn't say front line, really, should I? I'm sure they're all lovely.
Yeah. No,
but you must get a lot of questions from people who want to start podcasts and stuff. What are the most common things that people ask you?
So usually I get asked questions about what microphone to use.
Yeah.
And if there's any additional gear that is needed. And 9 times out of 10, I always go straight for the make sure your audio is set up correctly. And then from there, you're free reign. You can get your, like we have here, like massive DSLRs, which will give you the best quality, or you can get a little webcam to start with and build your way up.
And bearing in mind that this is totally not necessary. This is just, we've got a video studio, we've got 3 cameras, so why not?
I mean, like, there's nothing stopping you from doing it, but getting your audio in line is the first sort of priority. There are people who a lot of the time go, it's actually me and my mate want to do something, and like it's either like 2 people gaming together and they just want to kind of talk stuff and do a little broadcast on like their everyday lives, which, something like this solves that problem. Even the Vocaster 1 being a single microphone input. Yeah. Like I like the option to be able to now give that to customers and say, here, look, here's a good mic you can get for maybe 200 quid. And here's a really good interface, which does 90% of the job of like the headache side of the job.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're good to go within, I would say, 5-10 minutes.
So obviously that's another thing as well is, musicians are well versed in the world of, interfaces and analog to digital conversion, because anyone who's ever tried to set up a home studio knows that you need a box like the little red Scarlett or something like that in order to plug a mic in so that it comes up on your computer and whatever recording software you've got. And I think people who maybe want to jump into a podcast for the first time or jump into streaming probably have never made that connection that, the cable that comes out of a microphone, there's no XLR on the side of a computer.
I mean, that would be cool.
I mean, that would be an absolute beast of a computer if it had one built in, but let's face it, none of them do. So a lot of people probably wouldn't even realize they needed something like an audio interface, and particularly, something like the Vocaster that we've got in front of us. So what I think is really good about the Vocaster is that it solves that issue, but then also provides all of the tools that you would need specifically for talking. And and for broadcasting and for, podcasting and stuff like that. So that's a little bit more about kind of the needs of podcasts and, streams and stuff like that. So I think it's probably time to talk a bit more specifically about the Vocaster that we've got. So I've got the box just in case. So I know we've been talking about it quite a bit, but just to introduce it, this is the Vocaster 2. So we've got the Vocaster 2. There is also the Vocaster 1. The main difference between the two is that Vocaster 2 has got, as you can probably guess, 2 inputs, whereas the Vocaster 1 has got 1 input and also 1 output as well for headphones. Yeah. So it's kind of the same as audio interfaces. Some of them have got 2 inputs if you're, recording guitar or vocals. Some of them got 1 input if you're just recording a mic. So it's different horses for different courses, basically. So let's talk about some of the features. We mentioned some of the features, but I've got a list here of things that I thought were really good. So obviously individual mic controls is great because, people talk at different volumes. It's good to control. I'm probably a bit louder than you because as soon as the cameras turn on in here, like my voice jumps up. And then some of my arms go everywhere.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's that creator sort of like thing of like, it's a show now. Like, I mean, going off of what you were saying, like it's nice the level of control that you have over this, and in particular with the microphone controls. You can either do it here on the Vocaster hub, or you can do it on the surface level here. You also can do that manually on the software here by changing the slider, or again you can use the auto gain controls, which we spoke about earlier on.
So the other thing as well is that there is another little button on here that's next to that. Which it looks like a magic wand, and that is a vocal enhance button, which is really nice because it kind of just automatically spruces up the microphone to a variety of different functions. So there's one that's inbuilt on there and you don't need the software to use it. But there are quite a few different ones. Now, you were controlling it on there and you've set it up. So we've both got them on at the moment, haven't we?
Yeah. So we've both got the radio setting, which is just the first setting that the Vocaster hub was giving us. Yeah. But all of them have the same fundamentals. So you've got a compressor, which means that you can tighten up your voice. You've got your bass EQ, your mid EQ, and your treble, basically your low, mid, and high. Obviously, so we've got different presets immediately available. Like I said, we're using the radio preset. We also have a clean, a warm, and a bright. I would say if you were to get this unit, it's definitely worth sitting there for 5-10 minutes at a time. Just listen to each type of the enhanced options and see what you find. It can be a headache and it can be a lot of stress to kind of go through, especially if you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly. I mean, it's a headache if you do know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been doing audio for like 10 years and even sometimes I'm just sat in front of it just like, is that better? Is it worse? Is that
what is this? How does it work? But yeah, no, I mean, like this is one of the great things about how this software works. And I mean, I'm just going to kind of turn it off, like turn the enhance off as I'm talking right here, and you can kind of hear there's a slight difference in tonality, and the compression is immediately like recognizable.
That's the most noticeable thing that's gone is the compression.
So I'll turn it back on so that we're sounding a little bit more similar.
Yeah.
But the enhance option can give you a lot of flexibility with what you're doing.
Compression basically levels out all of the volume. So whether you're talking into the microphone like this, you might hear it go a bit bassy, because that's called proximity effect. That's a completely different thing. But whether you're talking into the microphone like this, or if you move away a little bit like that, or if you're looking left and right, or talking a bit quieter, or talking a bit louder like this, compression basically just evens all of that up. So it's a really important thing to have, but it is really complicated to set up. So having a preset that you can just push a button and it automatically sets it all up for you is super helpful and just save you so much time, so much Googling, so much playing around with ratios and knees and output gain. It's like it's a whole rabbit hole in itself.
So the rumble reduction is quite interesting, and not a lot of softwares like this have it. I think it works a little bit like a noise gate, but it's slightly different.
Yeah.
So when you have a setup like this, where you have your microphone on an arm, it moving around, you can make noise. Like I'm tapping on the table right now, I don't think we can hear it, and that's all the rumble reduction.
It's only So like if you've ever recorded with microphones and stuff, if you've got it on an arm or a microphone stand like this, it's so easy if you knock the mic. Like obviously you heard you heard that, so it's brilliant. Time, but like knocking the table, knocking here, like it adds so much like boominess, and it's really annoying because you don't necessarily hear it when you record it, but then you'll sit back, when you're editing or mixing it, you go, oh God, I knocked the mic on that. And
anything along those lines, you can just change the setting on the rumble reduction, make it stronger, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. What we get a lot here is we're in the middle of the warehouse here, which is grateful to have a space, but we have a floor upstairs that has pallet trucks going all day, every day. And normally recording can be a bit of a nightmare, especially if I'm just on a little lapel or something with no rumble reduction. So hopefully, I mean, they've been going backwards and forwards. I've been hearing them, but hopefully none of that's coming through too obviously. Another feature that is really good about these, I mean, we haven't really, because we're trying to show it off to you, we haven't really got it set up optimally to do this, but there is individual mute buttons on the interface. So say if you set it up for yourselves and not necessarily for the camera showing this off, and you had it in front of you, you've got a button that instead of having to move away from, say if you wanted to sneeze or cough or something like that, or if your guest starts going on a bit of a dodgy racist rant or something, you've got a button where you can just mute your mic straight away.
It's absolutely useful. And it is...
See, it works perfectly.
Funnily enough, I actually used it on the software here, because you can turn it on and off here in the software, and I had to clear my throat earlier.
Oh wow!
I literally just looked away and just kind of like very gently pressed the button. And
I'm gonna have to find that moment.
You'll be able to see me go.
Another feature that is really good about these. And
then suddenly, there's like loads of stuff going on. You can go, oh, actually, we're just going to take a break.
You can't hear it. There we go.
Yeah, you won't be able to hear us.
Another option you can do, if you don't have the laptop, if you did want to record video like we're doing here, we're not using this feature at the moment because I'll just sync
we've got 3 different angles.
We've got 3 cameras, and I'll just sync it up in Premiere. But if you didn't have that, and you say you just wanted to set up a camera like the big wide one we've got here, just so people can have a visual of you guys talking, there is an output on the back of here which goes directly to a camera via a TRS cable, which is like a mini jack, essentially. So it's a pretty easy cable to get, and you can plug the Vocaster straight into your camera and not even have to sync up your camera in post. That's super convenient, and then it also records all of the audio, and it's a pretty high quality output as well. But it records all of the audio straight onto your video track, so you don't even have to worry about syncing anything up in post.
It just like the amount of stuff that they've thought about and put into this unit, like it's actually, I'm like, they've tried to cover absolutely everything. They've done a really good job at it.
Yeah, they cover all bases. On the back of it as well, you have got an auxiliary input, which obviously is just a standard, what you would call an aux lead, is what is a stereo mini jack. But it's also got Bluetooth as well, which is super useful. So
honestly, it's really cool.
So I've got my phone here. I don't need it to be plugged in, and obviously Apple took away our headphone jack, so it makes it really annoying. So, but it doesn't need to be plugged in. You can hook up to it via Bluetooth. Obviously, that means you can stream. So I've got some lovely royalty-free music here. If you give me a copyright strike for playing this, I'll not be happy because I made sure it was. But for example, I can just play that through, and that should hopefully be coming out.
Yeah, no, so, we've got a nice signal, and like I said, we've got a separate fader for it. So if we were like, actually, let's take a break, we can probably say we're going to take a 2-minute break and mute the microphones and turn up the music.
Yeah. And we're back.
Quick little break.
Yeah, it's great. So, you can have your chill little lo-fi beats on like we've got now, which is, and sometimes it is nice to have a bit of a bed, particularly if you're streaming or something.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yes.
It's such a common thing where like with broadcasting on platforms like Twitch and YouTube to have something just sitting there in the background. It can give you a little bit more an atmosphere.
The other thing as well is you can use this like a phone, and you could literally dial up someone and they could join in as a phone guest, or and it's super easy. And like I say, on the Vocaster, you don't even need a cable. Like, it's that easy. All you need is a phone that's got Bluetooth. You don't need the weird dongle thing that Apple don't even put in the box.
No.
They don't even put it in the box anymore.
No, they don't.
No. So that solves so many issues. So I guess the next thing to talk about is the software that it comes with. So obviously we've already said to you that pretty much when you plug it in, it will prompt you to download the Vocaster software, and it runs on nearly as long as your computer isn't 10 years old like mine, it'll run fine on any kind of relatively up-to-date, not even fully up-to-date, but relatively up-to-date computer. So that's great for controlling all of the audio and everything like that. You can use pretty much any free DAW or any kind of audio recording software to capture the sound, but they do give you some stuff that's included, which is really helpful. So you get Hindenburg Lite to record. So Hindenburg is a specific audio editing and recording software.
Yep.
So it's catered more towards this sort of thing rather than like a music recording platform. You get 3 months of Squadcast Pro and video to bring in your guests, as well as getting 6 months of the Acast Influencer Network for hosting podcasts and monetizing the podcast. So a lot of big streamers, and one of the ones I watch, I'm quite into football, I like Peter Crouch. He's on Acast, so it kind of gets you a seat at the table, as it were. And lastly, I want to talk about the other stuff. So we have mentioned microphones and stuff before. Now, obviously, you can use pretty much any microphone you want with the Vocaster.
Yep.
However, Focusrite themselves, I don't know if many people know this, but they do make their own little bundles to go with these, which is what I'm using right now. So, and that's kind of, the SM7B has kind of become the industry standard in terms of the microphone. However, there's this thing which is designed to be very similar, to hold up well as a broadcast microphone. So this is the Vocaster DM14V, and these are the Vocaster headphones. And all of this comes together in its own little pack, which is the Vocaster Broadcast Bundle, or it's the broadcast kit. And to be honest, I mean, obviously this is going up against a Shure in this video. And, the Shure environment is, absolute industry standard. I mean, they're absolute legends in the microphone game. And to be honest, I mean, it's holding up pretty well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really like that that Vocaster. I think for the level of quality that you would want from a podcast or even any sort of broadcast stream, whatever you're doing, it definitely hits the nail on the head.
I'm not going to stand here and say you don't need the Shure SM7B, because we do also sell Shure SM7Bs and MV7Xs, which is what you're actually talking into there. But what I'm just saying is you don't necessarily need that. This microphone has been designed to give the same frequency response, and it sounds as good.
Yeah,
and it is more affordable. So
yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things where like it feels like a constant conversation of like you don't always need to absolutely splash out on everything. And this is one thing that I really like about Focusrite, because they've been doing it for years with the Scarlett series.
Yeah, they've always had their own studio packs that are designed for like singing. Yeah.
And like I think it's a fantastic idea, and it's a good way to start off, because if you are on a budget, and you go, I really want the big expensive microphone, but I can't afford it at the moment. You can start with something like the studio pack, and later down the line when you go, actually I want to upgrade it, I want to change it and have a slightly different microphone, then you can do that. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing that option.
But yeah, I mean, if you're a podcaster and if you're someone who's a bit of a presenter, a bit of a host, you're not an audio engineer, it takes years to perfect all of the compression and mixing and EQ and stuff like that. But the software here and the interface makes that so easy, so you can focus on presenting a podcast and sorting out the guests and making it interesting and all that other stuff. Just this is all taken care of. So yeah, it's great bit of kit, and I couldn't recommend it enough. Check them out. So if you have been interested by this, I'll put all the links down to everything we've been using below, apart from my really old laptop, of course. So if you want to check them out and get a bit more specific info on the website, then you can do that. But yeah, thank you so much to Gino. I'll pop his Twitch link down in the description as well if you want to check him out.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming up from the shop and coming to help me chat about this.
I mean, like you said, like if anyone wants to come into the shop and talk about any podcasting gear or any broadcasting gear, by all means, feel free to talk to myself. And obviously my colleagues at Pro Audio will definitely be able to help you out.
Perfect. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. If you were going to start a podcast, what would it be about? Let us know.
Yeah, I want to know that one as well.
But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to see more things like this, and we'll see you very soon.